Is it okay to round your back when you're lifting? Absolutely not. Let me show you what I mean. So, a lot of times when people are lifting, we're told that we want to keep a neutral spine, right? So we have this neutral spine, it's straight. However, what a lot of people are confusing is the fact that within a neutral range, it's not a single point, right? It's not like, oh, if I'm here, I'm neutral, and then if I'm there, I'm extended, or if let's say I go from even here, right, and I'm extend just a tiny bit, you can't say, oh, I'm out of neutral. There's a zone of being neutral, and that zone extends into a little bit of flexion, right? Let's say I'm here. It extends into a little bit of flexion and a little bit of extension. Now, typically, if we are in what we will call the neutral zone, right? That space where in here there's a little bit of flexion available and a little bit of extension, we're in that neutral zone, we're more likely to be safe. Here's the reality. A lot of lifters get hurt with a neutral spine, being fully extended, or having a rounded back during deadlifts, okay? They'll get hurt doing this, of course, with flexion. They're gonna get hurt even with what would be called solid form, and they're gonna get hurt with extension. Typically, for most people, they are going to be safe within that neutral range. And actually, a lot of people, especially powerlifters, will tend to go into flexion a little bit, but it's still within a neutral range that can allow their spine to be safe. Now, we're talking about powerlifting, right, in this neutral range. What if I get down here, right, and I pick up something really that's like on the bottom of my shoe? Let's say I get some gum on the bottom of my shoe. I need to get it off, right? It's okay for me to round and lift up small objects. I will say this. My sister-in-law, 3 days ago, threw out her back. Guess what she was doing? Putting on her shoes. What tends to happen with those individuals is they may be in a position where they're rounded, like sitting down for a really long period of time. And over time, the spine is being stressed. So it doesn't take a lot for a small little event, which might appear that, oh my gosh, these spinal accidents are so random. All I did was bend over to try to put on my shoe and my back went out. Well, I can assure you that's not what happened. That's not the totality of the picture, right? What's more likely is that the spine over time, for some people, it might take a couple weeks or months, and for other people, it's going to take years. And the crazy thing is, with my sister-in-law, she's had 0 back injuries. So what my guess is that she's been in this position for decades, and actually, I know she sits in a lot of cross-legged positions and her back is fully rounded when I've seen her at family events. So I know there's some back rounding for sure, right? So while you also might hear that a lot of people say, well, of course you're gonna round your back when you do certain things. That's true. It also bears mentioning that when we're sitting down or standing up, we don't wanna be at the end range of motion. And what I mean by that is when we're standing, you'll find a lot of people that develop what we call extension intolerance, where they have a hard time going backward without pain. For a lot of people, it's even standing here, it's like, oh, this is painful. Or especially if they're like, oh, that's painful. A lot of times those people may be very extended, they may have tight hips, and they are the ones that are often sitting on their chairs very tall, but without a backrest. And like I said, they might do that for months, years, or decades before an issue pops up. Or if they're the type of person that's completely rounding their back, they would be more at risk for a flexion-based issue. But ironically, they can also experience something when they're coming on up. And then it's like, oh, because it might not take a lot, but if it's something a little heavy, they're like, oh, I threw out my back. And it's because their back is never used to being in a neutral position, putting load on it, and it's totally deep. So is it okay to round your back when you lift? Well, it depends on what you've done before, and it depends if you're still within your neutral zone, which is specific for every individual. So my question to you is, do you round your back when you lift, and do you have issues with it? So if you have any other questions on round a back, I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.